It may not seem like an obvious part of the sponsorship, but engaging with the media is a key part of the support. You can inform people of what events your committee is doing, but also it's part of the mission to advocate and educate.
So first, why is that important?
If you engage with the media, you reach a bigger group of people instead of just the people that you go through word of mouth. And so with media, you actually get to tell your story to a bigger audience, and therefore you can evoke a larger change.
It just shows the resilience and perseverance of the human spirit, even in the worst scenarios you could ever think of.
And so it's a huge barrier to engagement within our society is that people just don't know about things. And so in order to get people to know about things, you have to engage them, and media is the best way.
Well, man, you got it. So all you need to do is come up with a strategic plan.
That's right. Planning is key. So think about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get there. Here's some steps to help with your media engagement.
So a lot of local committee members are intimidated by approaching the media because they think that reporters won't be interested in their story or they won't take them seriously, and that's simply not true. Reporters get lots and lots of media alerts and press releases a day, and it's your job to let them know why your story is so important.
SRP students are just as much a part of the university community as they are the community that surrounds it, so we would need to make sure that the rest of the people in the community know what the program is and what students are doing there to enhance their community.
Now, before you even contact the media, you should think about your story ahead of time. Who is the target audience? Why would people be interested in this? And then you can take that information and approach the media.
When engaging the media, be sure that you clearly state what the issue is, how your local committee is planning to help that issue, so which campaigns you're focusing on and what the action is that you're doing, and then be sure to inform the community how it is that they can help and how they can participate in that action.
Journalists will always wonder why. Why is this story interesting? Why would my viewers, readers, or listeners be interested in this story? And that's where the hook comes in. What is the hook? The hook is the most important and interesting part of your story. It explains why the reader should know about this story and why now.
I think it's important to have a specific message because so often people will see so much stuff around campus or in the media about general social justice, and they'll be like, oh, these people are trying to help the world, but there's so many different organizations that are trying to get out a general help the world message, and so you need to keep it specific so that it will stand out among all of those other messages.
People don't know where they connect to the issue, and so the problem is that if you don't find some connection, people aren't going to understand why it matters to them, and that's another greater barrier.
So you've got your target audience and you figured out your hook. The next thing you should figure out is which reporters you want to send it to. You could send it to a city reporter or a general reporter, but that may not work all the time. What you should be looking for is reporters that have done stories on social issues, refugees, education, students, things like that. They will be more inclined to want to report on your story because it has more to do with their beat.
And I think they want to know, okay, that's great, but how does that help me and my community, and how does that sort of better and influence me? So then tying it all in, and if you wanted to address those people, making sure that it then has those sort of community ties.
So how do you find out about which journalist to send your press release to? A first good step is to ask your local committee members because they may already have journalist contacts who have reported on your local committee in the past. A second thing that you can do is to go to the news site and go to their contact information. The journalists should be listed with their email addresses. Or an easier thing that you can do is to go to their search engine and search keywords like refugees, education, students, international development. The search engine should pop up stories along with the journalists who wrote them. A third thing that you can do is contact WUSC. There's regional liaison officers, but there's also a communications department that will help you with your media engagement and media event. People like me will help you find journalists to contact for your press release.
If you could just keep it simple, then people feel hey, okay, I can help with that. But if it becomes this huge, complicated, complex story, then people can't really see themselves in it.
So now you're ready to write your press release. The first and the most important thing that you should do is to put your hook at the top. Journalists receive dozens to hundreds of press releases a day, so you want to be able to grab their attention. The title and the first few sentences should be really engaging. The second thing that you should do is to add all the important details in your press release. Who, what, when, where. And remember to keep it concise, no more than a page, and try to keep it under 500 words. The third thing that you have to put in your press release is contact information. Pick someone in your local committee to be the media contact and put their name, phone number, and email address at the end of the press release.
There can be power dynamics or struggles about who gets to be the face of your local committee, because that's how people get recognition around the university or get recognized for all the work that they put into, say, putting on an event. And I guess you just have to be aware that everyone in your committee has put a lot of work into it and needs to be recognized in the media.
So you have your press release ready to go. Now you have to figure out when you want to send it. Too early and the journalists will forget about it. Too late and they may not have someone to cover your story. I would say a good guideline is about a week before your event. So you've sent out your press release, but your job's not done yet. Now it's time for the follow-up. Wait no more than 48 hours and then call up the journalist to repitch your story. When you call the journalist, introduce yourself and remind them of the press release that you sent out. Then pitch the story, no more than 30 seconds. If you're nervous, try it out on a friend or colleague first. After you pitch your story, you'll most likely hear an answer. If it's yes, great. If it's maybe, try and find out what you can do to get the journalist to come out to your story. If it's no, don't get discouraged. Try and treat it as a learning experience for next time.
Creating a line of explaining to people what it is that needs to be solved, what we're doing, how they can help.
So now you have a journalist that's coming to cover your story. So for whoever's being interviewed, always remember to write down a couple of key messages that you want to say. More importantly, stay relaxed and be yourself, because that's what really shines through.
You want to be aware of what your goal is, but not to the point that you seem fake, because that's the worst thing that you could do. So just be yourself when you're giving messages. Like, that's important, most important, I guess, when you're like talking in front of video or they're hearing your voice. But even when you're talking to the newspaper, if you're really dry, then there will be no connection and people won't take as much away from the story.
Even when you're doing something like talking on the radio, you still should be smiling and just be positive, and people can really pick up on that even just with the sound, and it just, yeah, it'll be a lot more encouraging. And
the news you want to spread is that of taking action and what people in the community can do.
So you've heard of ways of getting your story to the traditional media.
That's right. Well, let's hear about some general advice from local committee members like you.
When using the media to convey the experience of the SRP students, you want to be sensitive that these stories are very personal, and you don't want to assume that SRP students are comfortable sharing them.
They pass out that information to the community or like to the media is not because they wanted people to feel sorry for them. It's just to give them the information what the story or how it is back home, like back in the refugee camp.
I think that one thing that's important to remember with the personal stories is that there's a difference between someone telling you face to face and having that conversation and it getting put into the media, because when it gets put into the media you kind of lose control of the story a little bit, and the media has a tendency to try to sensationalize the stories and make them maybe seem worse than they are or seem bigger than they are, or just simplify it in a way that is going to really appeal to like the people who are just reading through the newspaper. Go in with a clear message of what you want the media to portray, because they will try to slant it towards maybe more of a sympathy angle, whereas if you want the message to be the positives and what's happening now and what can be taken and really educational, then you have to go in being very focused, because the media will try to take it out of your hands.
I think it's really important that you show a lot of enthusiasm and like passion for WUSC. I think people really feed off of that. They see how excited you are about the organization or whatever you're trying to promote, some kind of event or like the cause. People are a lot more drawn to it, and they're like, I want to be part of something like that. If people care so much about this issue, then it must be really big. And I think it'll draw people in if you have a lot of passion and enthusiasm.